Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Siffany's Walk with Grace. Today, we are going to talk about perspective. What does that mean? And how do you utilize perspective to make better of a situation? So, perspective, great example. Say that there's a mugger and a victim, right? The victim can choose to see the mugger as an offender and nothing more and just hold on to that rage, or they can choose to understand that maybe the mugger was not in their right mind. Maybe that was something, maybe there was some head trauma, maybe there was something in the past. Maybe they're about to lose their home. You don't know. But putting yourself in their shoes and understanding at least somewhat the perspective of where they're coming from, it makes it easier to forgive. And I think that is a goal right now for a lot of people. I know a lot of people are going through hurt. And I firmly believe that forgiveness goes a long way. And just to be clear, you could forgive and not let them back in.
I think what I really want to share in kind of the crux, because really this happens in all of our relationships, whether it's at the grocery store and whoever's checking you out is in a pissy mood, or you're driving and someone cuts you off and you get pissed at them. So it's happening within our lives. Anytime we're with another human being, really, there's potential for for conflict and upset. What I would like to try to share today is it's like we have two identities. One, we could call the ego, we could call it kind of our human side, our personality, who we are. The other one we could call spirit, your spirit, your soul, your, however you want to define that. For me, we all come from the same stuff, and that same stuff is, for me, pure love. But because we are born into these bodies and we have this human, so it's kind of like we have two conscience. We have the human conscious and we have the spirit conscious. That piece of us that comes from pure spirit. As we grow in these bodies of ours with the families that we have and the schools that we go to and the communities that we're in, we become the human part of us is what we mostly experience. Like, I've understood this, but I hadn't really, but I shared it in a way that like seriously made sense to me today. I'm like, oh man. And my first thought was, ooh, I should write that down. My second thought was, ooh, I'm doing Siffany's Walk with Grace today. Maybe I can share on Siffany's Walk with Grace. And now I'm really stumbling on my words, but let's give this a shot. When we're in conflict, it's like the ego and the ego are at battle. My ego, your ego, or whoever the battle is. Okay. The goal, the thing that my friend was asking for more than anything, and that I think we all struggle with, is we don't want that struggle anymore. We're tired of struggling. How many of us are so tired of fighting? Tired of the fight, tired of defending, tired of all that kind of stuff. Well, what I've been kind of working on and studying a little bit and trying to bring a little, because I had my own conflict, a couple of them this week. And the thing I was trying to practice was peace. I can see peace instead of this is a principle. And that's what I shared with my friend. And she said, how do I do that? What is that? Basically, in that moment when you say, I can see peace instead of this, it is as effective, more effective than that breath that I say to, take that breath to calm the body. It's even more powerful than that, because the principle behind that is to realize that I am a soul spirit, that part of God that is pure, having a human experience. And the human experience of conflict, pain, suffering is the thing that I don't want anymore. I want to be at peace. Peace is really our natural state. The human part of us gets in the way. And if we can view that part of our ego that fights and defends, and is, if you could see that part of you as being wounded, the wounded child, and that ultimately you come from pure love and are pure love, and you can see that about yourself and recognize that in the other, right? When you're in conflict, both of you are acting from a wounded child standpoint. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So those wounds are different for everybody, but they always have the response is typically the same, which is I have to defend myself. I have to protect myself. I have to take care of myself. I have to fight for myself. If, when we're in that moment, we say, I could see peace instead, all of a sudden, I no longer have to feel like I have to fight, protect, all those things that happen to a wounded child. Instead, I can be a loving presence and still meet the requirements. So what was happening this morning as this story was kind of being told to me, and that I was able to see in my own life when I got upset, really upset, earlier this week. When you're able to kind of understand this and gain some perspective on this idea that we are all created from perfection and are perfect, but that we have all this wounded child in us.
And for those who want to argue that point, let me just say the only time that an infant is angry is when like they're colicky or hungry or they need a diaper change. They really are. And a near a near euphoric state, I would call it, because they're just surrounded by like either, if you look at a baby, they're always like they're like that for a reason. We were all like that at one point.
Yes, correct. Unless we were born in like some major. But yes, all babies have the quality of,
To
if all my needs are met, I'm happy, I'm content, I am at peace. So yeah, same thing. So if I can let that piece go when a conflict starts, and I can say, you know what? I am okay. I am perfect the way I am. So are they. Our egos are in the way. I'm going to drop my ego and I'm going to come from the loving stance. And the loving stance has dropped the ego. Now you can do what you need to do without your own painful wounds coming in and clouding things up. So now I can say what I need to say without blaming. I can do what I need to do without blaming, without accusing, and see what happens when you come from that kind of a stance.
I like that. And I personally have been practicing that in a different kind of way, which I
Go
find
Gaines.
unique. Um,
Yeah.
so
That's what I love about this. And I love about this about just the way the universe works. I've talked about this before, how I was working on something and my husband comes home and he's doing the same thing, only I didn't know it. Now here's you and I'm sharing this. You've been doing it in your own way. And I love that. And I love that about our channel, because I think people, hopefully, as I talk and as you talk, they'll be able to sift it through their own perception and their own reality and say, oh, hey, I've been doing that too, only it looks like this.
yep.
So,
And
okay.
for me, my method is rather than looking at the way that Grace does, I kind of see it as we're all in this big giant web and we all are parts of this web, except we can't see it. But we're all connected, we're all a whole. And you pluck one piece of the web, there's going to be a ripple. And as it gets farther away, the ripple is going to be less, but it's still going to kind of be there. So if we see each other as all connected, well, number one goal is to love yourself, right? And so the way that I express love to people that I'm angry with is simply by trying to understand and be okay with it. And one of the things that helps me with that the most is remembering that everyone's created different. And I really like the world with color in it. And if we were all the same and everybody saw it the same way I did, there'd be no freaking color anywhere. So, like, yes, it's annoying having some of these differences once in a while, but at the same time, it's also what makes the world so beautiful. And if you can see those differences as a means of beauty, oh man, that has been a game changer for me. It really has.
Yeah, that's awesome. And we've talked about this before. I mean, if we were all blue, we could never appreciate green or yellow or red or purple. We wouldn't even have an appreciation because we wouldn't know any different.
Yep.
So, yeah, that is our, so to be able to, but it's still a color. So red, yellow, blue, green, they're all colors. And that's the sameness that we share. We all share that sameness and we all carry a vibration of color. And yet we're ultimately each of us a unique expression of color. So yeah, I love that, Siffany.
That's exactly it. And so, and that kind of leads us into our second part of today, which is letting go. So, when you're upset with someone, you're holding on to something. You got to figure out what that something is and how to let go of it.
Yeah. Yep. I love that piece, because we can hold on to it and hold on to it and hold on to it and hold on to it. The other,
Ladies, especially, are really good at holding on. Not to
yeah.
throw us under the bus or anything, but gentlemen, that's not just for TV.
True, true. Going back to kind of what I was saying, you still have to make the steps. So you still have to decide your boundaries, decide, have you been hurt or have you been the one to hurt? Could be either way, and typically both are happening.
So I finally finished Working Moms. It's very much an adult show, just so everybody knows. Do not watch that one when your children are conscious and running through the house. But there's an episode where one of them has like really big anger problems and the family keeps approaching them at different times. Different people in their home are approaching them about it. And it was a heavy reflection time for me because I went through the same thing and I was like, man, it's like looking at myself in the mirror. But I woke up feeling like, I don't know, a little bit of relief, I guess, out of it. And like sometimes your reflection can really be an eye opener too. So I've been trying a lot harder since seeing that because you see it from you're not involved in it, so you see all points. You know what I mean? And so it's it's easier to see the damage when you're not in the picture.
Right. That's beautiful too. And that's why I think, movies and just interacting with each other is such a cool thing because we can see ourselves outside of us. And when we see that and we get a good glimpse of that and an understanding of that, it can lead you back into yourself to what needs healed within yourself. So that's really cool. That's cool. Um, Letting go. I think another big piece of letting go is, my Christian background, let go and let God. you could say let go and let spirit, let go, and whatever that is for you,
I
that
say let go and trust the ethers.
there you go,
Kind of
because I love
includes
the
anything and everything.
uh-huh. Yes. So, what do you know? How do you feel about the ethers? You need to define that for yourself so that you can, when it's time to let something go, you can trust it. But so you got to know what you're trusting. What are you putting your trust into?
I like that.
Okay. Many people, some people, their God of understanding, especially is a vengeful God, an angry God, and a God that kills, and a God that does things, really in strange ways, right? I've heard this, I can't tell you how many times. If I've heard it once, I've heard it a million times. Why would God do that? What kind of God would allow these things to happen? I'm going to ask you to think about, well, maybe our perspective is wrong, because maybe God's not doing that. Maybe something else is at play here. And in my mind, the thing that's at play is our own free will. We're under two systems here. We're under the system that kind of the ego has built, and the system that encompasses everything with love at its center. So the universe of the ethers or whatever brought all this to being, there's an order to it, there's a harmony to it, there's a wisdom to it that we're in our condensed down version that doesn't know everything cannot understand or cannot know all of it. But we can understand that it's harmonious, that it finds a way, that it's good. And so we can rely on that no matter what happens. Your house burns down, even all the way down to your child passes away, or whatever it is, there's still a loving harmony to the universe. And I also believe that that spirit continues on and that soul continues on. It's time here. I don't know, but
I have somebody that's getting married this year, and
okay.
we try not to get political on here because that's just not what we're about. But they are concerned. They're like, what happens if like something happens before then, like a war or something? And I was like, look, at that point, then your wedding is going to be even more valuable because people need light in the darkness, and seeing a reunion and seeing people rejoicing and finding a way to be happy among it is going to give hope to some of the people that attend. And I think that's a beautiful gift. Like, if you could give any kind of gift as a thank you for attending, that is one heck of a gift.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, life goes on in the midst of pain and suffering. So somehow we do need to get to a place of, peace in the middle of pain and suffering. Is that possible? I say yes.
And I do too. I do too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think pain also brings people together too. I've seen that time and time again where people will start talking again after something bad happens.
Yeah.
So I mean, finding the good is definitely helpful, but yeah, when it
Hmm.
comes to letting go, I mean, that is part of it. Like when you have good things in your life, it's easier to not focus on the bad, and I think that's also a point. Um, it's very relevant and very valid.
Hmm. It is. And I've been saying lately, The healing, there is healing within the suffering. And if you have that understanding or you don't have that understanding, you want to figure out that understanding, it'll be shown to you. But and maybe we can touch on this in a minute, but if you have that stance, if you have this kind of mentality and this understanding that there's healing in the suffering, it allows you to not fight that suffering so much. Because really, when back to kind of the conflict, oftentimes the conflict keeps happening because we're not willing to see it as an opportunity to heal. If you see conflict as an opportunity to heal, and you can take that another step, couple more steps forward, disaster is an opportunity to heal. War is an opportunity to heal. Anything that is felt and experienced negatively there's healing in there. So,
Yes, I agree.
yeah. So if you keep that in mind in letting go, let's recap. Okay. Recapping perception, understand that everybody has their own perception. Understand the two main perceptions are kind of the ego or the wounded child, wounded self, that gets triggered, right? And then the part of you that it is wholly whole. It is perfect. It is that God spark. It is that perfection. Okay. So keep in mind those two things are, or which side do you want to, where do you want to come from? Do you want to hold on to that wounded child, or do you want to perceive that there's healing here? And so I'm going to look for peace. I'm going to know that peace is there for me. And then I can deal with the situation. The situation's not going to go away. The situation is still what the situation is, and it still has to be dealt with. Only now, if I can realize that I've got my own wounded child and they have their own wounded child, I'm gonna make a choice to come from a place of love. Now I'm going to deal with the situation without my hangups. Their hangups are still going to be there. That's okay.
And some of them might not change their perception, and that's not on you. I mean, if they're, as bad as it is to say, if someone prefers to live their life negatively, that's on them. We can't just flip a switch and be like, okay, you're happy now. So letting
Right.
go and understanding perception also comes with the understanding of you're only capable of changing your own. It's up to them to change theirs. You can make suggestions to help, but at the end of the day, it's on them if they're going to do it or not. I do
Absolutely.
want to add that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you still, you're still, like I said, you're still going to have to deal with the situation. That might mean, that's going to mean some kind of boundaries. It might mean that you need to have a conversation. Only now you're not gonna bring in that wounded child part. You're going to be able to be much more, you're going to stay on track
Yeah, and
on what
the
the
wounded
issue is.
child is going to be out in the daycare center waiting. Someone else is handling the wounded child. He's in daycare right now. It's cool.
Oh, there you go. I like that analogy. Yeah. So the issue's still there, only now you're going to deal with it from a level-headed, adult, mindful way. So, okay.
And
And
to
then the
recap, letting go.
okay. Do you want to shoot for that one?
Um,
My brain hurts. It was
understanding. You're okay. So for recapping, letting go, understanding perspective is key for sure, but also keeping in mind that we, in the end, we're all one. And understanding that we have a choice. We can choose to dwell or we can choose to move on and be happy and look at the good in our lives. And am I missing anything? What I feel like I'm missing something.
Yeah, the higher perspective. No
Oh
worries.
yeah.
The higher perspective. The perspective that, it's an ordered, loving, all things are meant to work out kind of universe. And then then you're letting go and you're letting the unknown. You're letting go. Why do we hold on to things? Because we want to know how it's going to turn out. We think we know how it's going to turn out. We want to make it turn out. But that's no, you're responsible for your boundaries. And then you don't have an understanding of how it's going to work out.
And trust.
That's Yeah, that's the ether's job. So, one of the situations that kind of came up, work related, we don't know what's going to happen to the other person. The other person seems to be, anyway, absolutely, we'll say 90% wrong. Because I do think there's always two tangos. But anyway, you don't know what's going to happen. But once you come from a space of, heart open, caring, you're not going to hurt me. I still have my boundary. But then from there, I don't know what's going to happen. That person could get fired. That person could, we don't know. And I highly suggest you don't spend too much time there, because if you start thinking about how it's going to work out, guess what you're doing? You have not let it go. Because now you're hoping might go this way, or maybe it'll go that way. So you're still attaching yourself to it.
Yes,
So
yes.
letting go is honestly saying there's a higher power out there that will take care of that piece. My piece is taken care of. I've taken care of my heart. I've taken care of my boundaries. The rest is not mine. And the letting go process, you might have to do that over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. I think that's another thing. We like to think it's one and done.
That's a
Well, it
good
is one.
point. It's an ongoing process for sure.
It is. It is. It's a one and done in the moment,
Till the next
but
moment.
until the next one pops up again, because that's another thing I hear over and over again. Why is this still happening? Well, because it's life. you know how long did you go in between thinking about it the last time? How much letting go did you practice between then and now? It could be a minute, it could be a day, it could be a year, a decade, who knows? But when it comes back, it comes back. It's just time to work on it again. It doesn't mean you failed. It doesn't mean you're wrong or you're bad. Just keep in mind, you got two things going on inside you. As long as we're here living and in these human bodies, then we have this wounded ego, and we have this perfect God spark, or whatever you want to call it. We are all monsters. We all behave narcissistically sometimes. We all behave totally out of what we would consider character. All of us do.
Selfishly, obnoxiously.
Absolutely.
Everybody has
Absolutely.
their moments.
Everybody has their moments. So we're both, and we really got to get okay with that we're both. Yes, I behaved, in ways I am not, that I am horribly ashamed of. And I've done some really beautiful things in my life. I'm both, and both need to be okay. So sometimes I'm a monster, sometimes I'm normal. Sometimes I act out of my ego, sometimes I act out of love. Sometimes I'm very fearful, sometimes I'm very loving. And that both are there, and that we're going to fluctuate while we're in these bodies. We can't possibly only be one or the other.
Your grandson one day asked me why he couldn't be normal, and I kind of really like my reaction to that. I told him, I was like, who wants to be normal? That sounds so boring. I was like, I want to be unique. I want to be special. I want to be different. I want to stand out. I don't want to blend in. I was like, normal, like that sounds so lame, dude. I was like, if you don't feel normal, then I think you're on the right track because normal sounds lame. I don't want to be normal. I don't want to be part of that. And since
Yeah.
that conversation, anytime that, something along those lines type situations come up, he'll be like, you know what? I'm just unique. It's cool. Like, it's okay. It's good to be weird. And I'm like, yes. I think that's really important for us to keep in mind. And that just goes back to, the um color and difference making, uniqueness is the reason we have everything we do. If
Yeah.
everybody was the same, we would only have like reality shows and there'd be like no comedy, no action, no superheroes. Like that's so no. I don't want to be a part of that. Put Make me in the unique group.
Yeah.
Not that
That's
normal's not okay. I'm not saying normal's not okay either, but like really, if there is such a thing as normal, then I don't feel like there even is personally, because normal would mean the same, right? And we are all unique and we are all different. So in my eyes, there's not even such a thing as normal.
yep.
Uncommon perspective, but we're talking about perspective, so
We are talking about perspectives. Yeah. And sometimes, what are we saying when we're saying, I just want to be normal? My friend was talking about, and for her, I think that definition was kind of what? I want to be, well, I understood it as, I want to be a good person versus a monster. And that led into the, you know, place of love and God's spirit, whatever, to connect with that.
for your grandson, it was the physical ailments. We also
Ah,
found out that he also has EDS, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And so for him, it was more about the physicality of things like, why can't I be more active? Why can't I go to the park and play and not hurt like hell?
oh,
I
yeah,
always just wanted to be accepted. Now I don't care.
yeah. But however, I'd challenge that because there are, yes, you want to be unique, but in situations you still want to be, you want to be doing the thing that you're supposed to be doing within that situation.
Okay, fair. Like I do want like musically, for example, you want fans to like your stuff. But
Mm.
I also have to keep in mind that haters make you famous and there's always going to be haters.
Yeah, there
And
you
and
go.
that's where not caring comes into play. So like, yes, I would love to have more fans. I would love to be like one of the people that people seek out to hey, can you come perform or can you write a song for this? But at the end of the day, when it comes to like the haters, I don't care. Say what you want. I know who I am and I know what I'm worth, and that's what matters. And so I guess you're right. Like, yeah, I mean, I do care to a degree, but I also still don't care to a degree. And I think you're right, it is circumstantial too.
Yeah,
Like in the everyday world, like I don't care what the cashier at Walmart thinks of me. I know that I went in and I was nice and I smiled and I said thank you and that's what I was supposed to do. So if they want to be grumpy about me because I have piercings, that's on them. I did the right thing. You know what I mean?
yeah, I do. I get it. Very much so. Yeah.
And that
You
is
know,
part of getting through perception. Like, you don't have to sit there and get in the car. I could get in the car and go, man, what did I do to piss that lady off so bad? Like, was it my tone? Was it like, did I have something in my teeth? Or I can get in the car and be like, man, that poor girl must have been having a hell of a day and just let it go.
there you go. I like that. Oh yeah, because you could have taken it, you could have really went down the rabbit hole with, oh my God, was it my piercings? Is it my tattoo? It's the color of my hair. Do you see what I mean? We
Yeah.
can place that on the outside of us, and that could drive us absolutely insane. Or it was just her.
Yep.
And Yep. Yeah. So that would be the example. You came from a loving place. You were doing no harm. You were doing the thing that you needed to do. And it didn't stop her from being malicious or whatever. She was still malicious, but you held your own. And then you were able to let it go because you could still hold your own, knowing I'm good the way I am, you know. And then another step could be bless her because who knows what's going on with her, but obviously her wounded child's coming out. So I'm going to send her a little love. But that's
That's
me.
that's true too. That's true too. And I mean it can be rewarding sometimes too. Like I'll go to Walmart and there'll be like this little lady trying to, it happens time and time again, trying to get something off the top shelf. Everyone's just walking past her, watching her struggle, like, well, she didn't ask. I'll be the one to stop and offer. And at first, like 8 times out of 10, there will be this look of like, oh, when they see me, because A, I'm a giant, and B, like we said, piercings and tattoos. So you got this little old lady staring up at this giant that's covered in ink and metal. And there's a moment of shock there. But then when she sees my kindness come out, she's like, oh, thank you so much. You are just so sweet. You have a great day. And it warms my heart. And it's all because it she chose to change her perspective. Like, oh, so she's not a bad person. That she's
Yeah.
the only one that stopped to help me today. And so it does come with rewards as well. But don't do it for that reason. Do it just to be nice. I just do it because like, man, that would really suck to be standing there for 20 minutes trying to get something and everyone's just walking past you, watching you struggle.
Right, right. I mean, ultimately, we have to look past these bodies to see each other's pure spirit, that pure light within the other person, no matter how dim it is. There's still something there. So if you can look past that and see if you can see the light within everybody. So the cranky cashier, the murderous
Psychopath.
psychopath. There's
Also,
still
little
a spark.
secret, this totally helps with sibling rivalry too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. And yes, I mean that is the perfect setup of I want to be my individual self and somehow I need to be part of the whole. So I need to fit in as a sister, but I want to be unique. And I still want to be my unique, beautiful self, whatever that is. I think that was my perspective with you girls growing up, but I think you girls, I'm not sure what happened there, but yes, you're right.
Look, all I know is that I used to be kind of okay, not kind of. I played dead on one of them. Okay, I was an asshole. Like I would get back at them in so many ways. But now I just flip it around and I'm like, they're having a real crappy day. I'm gonna go play my video game. They know I'm here if they want to talk about it. And then I'm not traumatizing my poor sisters. I'm so sorry and thank you for forgiving me. But I'm also not sitting here like, what the hell did I do to you?
Yeah, they were remembering when you were playing dead.
Well, I didn't have my video games for a long time.
Yeah.